One of the key players to ensure that the markets really perform in the expected way by especially giving you shareholders information and of course what issuers are saying is the C&R, that is the Custody and Registrars Services. I'll be speaking to the CEO to help us understand what really is the mandate and what are they doing to ensure that there's more efficiency for you shareholders to get proper information and in good time. So Kerry-Ann Makatiani, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. It's been some years since we spoke about C&R, and it's good, at least we're going to start from just helping our viewers understand who is C&R and what's their mandate. If we could care to start from that point.
Thank you. So C&R, Custody and Registrar Services, we trade as C&R Group. So I'm going to use the C&R Group. It's just a lot easier.
Yeah.
We're a share registrar. Share registrars are one of the players in the capital markets.
Yeah.
So when you look at a capital markets, the listed company is there. The listed company has requirements for itself as an entity for playing in the capital markets.
Yeah.
So there are corporate governance requirements, there are regulatory requirements, there are shareholder action requirements. So as a share registrar, we undertake the management of those activities for the listed company. Okay. So we are undertaking the administrative aspects of corporate governance, for example, ensuring that there are accurate shareholder records. So there are certain activities we do around that in terms of liaising with the central depository. We're responsible for ensuring that data is up to date. We're responsible for managing shareholder action. So if a company needs to communicate with their shareholders, if they want to undertake a corporate action, a rights issue, a bonus issue, paying a dividend, we manage that for them.
Okay.
And also regulatory requirements. There are requirements that they have both to regulators, NSC, CMA, UFA, and all of those we undertake for them. So providing reports, ensuring that any corporate action or dividend payment is done within the rules and regulations of the capital markets. Yeah. So if you're paying a dividend, for example, it has to be done within certain time periods. If you're doing bonus issues, it has to be done within certain time periods. Okay. And so also more and more share registrars are moving into the data processing space because by undertaking these activities for their clients, we're becoming the data processes in these transactions that they do. Okay. So that kind of encapsulates, I think, the role that we play as a share registrar, managing the efficiency and accuracy of shareholder management and corporate governance requirements for listed companies.
So just to elaborate a bit more, I just wanted to understand who you relate with, who are your immediate relations, because we have the market, the NSC, and we have CDSC as well, that is responsible for opening these accounts, and then we have you. So are you the intermediary or where, so that we can understand it better?
That's a very good question. Yes. We interact with everyone. So you would almost think we are the face of the capital, the listed company in the capital markets. So we have to interact with the depository, both for one, receiving data. So for example, we need to have accurate shareholder records for the company to undertake any actions, communications, voting, which is a requirement. So we have to have data, share data between ourselves and the CDSC. So that's one interaction that we do. We do what we balance. So if there's an action that the company has to do, we receive data from CDSC. At the end also of an action, we provide information to CDSC to update to say, now coming out of this corporate action, these are the new shareholdings. So it may be a bonus issue, it may be a split issue. Coming out of this, these are the new shareholdings. So update this so that there's a full record. We also have to integrate or interact with the regulators. So and then the shareholders, obviously. Absolutely. So if you look at how it works, we are a dematerialized environment, which means that the CDSC has to have an electronic record of all the shareholdings, which they do. We went through that dematerialization process and we provided that. Despite the fact that we're dematerialized, there are shareholders that still have certificated. Right? So the CDSC has a full electronic records of the entire shareholdings of a company, but those shareholdings are held still sometimes in a certificated format. So for shareholders that are fully electronic, meaning that they hold their account in a broker account, their interaction will be through a broker. And then we get that data from the CDSC. For shareholders that hold their shareholdings through a certificate, while the CDSC has an electronic record of that, their interaction has to be with us. There are certain requirements that we have to do when we're confirming shareholder transactions or verifications. For example, one of them is a signature. So a signature of a shareholder is not something for a certificated shareholder that the CDSC will have. So I think that's sometimes where the misunderstanding is understanding that we're dematerialized. The CDSC has an electronic record of all shareholdings as part of the dematerialized environment, but those shareholdings are still held in both certificate and broker accounts. So the ones held in broker accounts, their first interaction is through their broker, and then we get that data through our interactions with the CDSC, or USC, because we also operate in Uganda, or DSC for Tanzania, because we also have cross-listed clients there. But for certificated shareholders, they interact with us. There are other aspects where shareholders come directly to us. So for things like dividend payments, if there's a shareholder instruction, it will come to us for some instructions. But for an instruction such as an immobilization or a transfer, it has to first be initiated through a broker. So I think that's sometimes where I wouldn't say confusion, but there's a lot of nuances, nuances in the market.
Absolutely, and thanks for the elaboration. I see a lot of information popping up. Sometimes it's a corporate action, sometimes it's a corporate announcement. So all these are coming from your end, being sent to the investors and just the general market players. What's the difference sometimes? Is there a difference?
Between a corporate action and a corporate notice?
Yes, notice. Yes.
So a corporate action is an activity, and I guess it's one of those terminologies we use in the market. It just means it's an activity that a company is doing with regards to its shares. So corporate actions may be paying a dividend on the shares to its shareholders. It may be issuing a bonus, doing a split. It may be a rights issue. So it's an activity that relates to the shareholding of a shares. Now, a corporate announcement is just a corporate announcement. So it could be a cautionary announcement. It could be an announcement of a bid offer or an offer that has been made, and so caution needs to be taken on the shares as they await the outcome of the bid offer. So it's just an announcement that they're making. So generally, announcements will be done in two formats. So the companies use their websites and publish. There's also announcements that go through the NSE in terms of that circulation list to brokers and custodians. And then there are announcements that we do on behalf of the companies to their shareholders. So in addition to what's in the public forum, the website, going through the NSE, we'll also do targeted messaging to the shareholders.
All right. I'm just thinking about the amount of data you have, and I think now you must be a certified data processor by the ODP,
we are.
Right?
Both a data processor and a data controller, actually.
Absolutely. I just want to ask you to tell me how you are marrying technology and just the latest ways in which you are ensuring that you're communicating in the most effective and accurate way.
I hope I won't be too much of a nerd. My first degree is engineering. I love data and technology.
That's good.
So I say it is impossible to be in this business without technology, and we really like to push the front of what technology can do. So in all aspects of what we're doing, technology is playing a part. So let's start with, first of all, the most important thing are our shareholders and the market in terms of how we communicate with them. How do we make it easier to communicate with them? How do we make it easier for them to communicate with us? So we have a CRM, right? So we're looking here at at communications, you have a CRM. Any activity that is done between ourselves and a shareholder is marked in that CRM, whether it is an email, whether it is a voice, because we do call outs, whether it is correspondence. It's all scanned and an electronic ticket is created. We're also looking at other ways, so we're continually bringing in new ways of communicating. So you have to have like a multi-channel way, and then all of those multi-channel ways of communicating, whether email, written, telephone, have to be in a centralized repository, so you can access it, both for ease of transparency, but also for ease of reporting. We look at how we provide reports to the regulator. So reports used to be provided in a secure PDF format by email. We rolled out our regulatory portal. So we have a client portal and we have a regulatory portal where they can log in and they can pull the reports for themselves. Now, when you look at what technology does, it does so much things there, because before it would be a PDF that's just static. It's just dead. It's just a report. Now you're pulling live graphs. You can say, I want to look at my trading from this period to this period. It's interactive. It has data point. You can say, I want to look at my profile versus my competitors. So you can bring in the industry, you can move the industry, so it's very interactive. You can pull data back going years rather than having to search through. So technology just makes the information, one, easier to provide, but it also makes it more interesting to interact with. There's much more information you can get from a live chart where you can be changing the parameters of that chart as opposed to a static report. And then obviously digital in terms of how investors participate in the market. So when you look at how investors have traditionally participated in the market, it would be through physical applications. We've moved away from that. So I know COVID brought in virtual AGMs.
Absolutely.
Virtual
I wanted to
AGMs
ask you
has
how.
made a big impact. Yes, we can do a whole session on that, because we've even done research on the impact of virtual AGM. It has made a big difference. But you said you're going to talk about that. So let's part that and talk a little bit about participating in the market.
So
moving away from physical applications, using online and virtual portals. And that's what we do. So we have been doing online bond processing. I think 2018 was our first one in Uganda. 2020, we did a hybrid rights issue where people went to the branches of the client, applied online. That online application came to us, was then printed and then signed, and that was sent to us. But we had already started processing on the online. 2020, we've done quite a few virtual AGM, not virtual AGM, sorry, online bonds. And 2023 for the Airtel, because I mentioned we're in Uganda, it was again a fully online IPO that we did. So we're moving away from sending in physical applications. We're integrating with banks and M-Pesa platforms and mobile money platforms. In Airtel, it was Airtel mobile money. And you are processing using a electronic or digital application. And that makes it so much more efficient for investors to participate and exercise their rights for corporate actions.
Absolutely. Let's go to that conversation on virtual AGMs. I knew this was a game changer, especially when COVID hit, and companies still had to meet the obligations. How has that now changed, really, how you're operating? And maybe you could tie it in with shareholders, because I'm sure they try as much as possible to also speak to you. And you have to ensure that they're not missing out on any of these announcements, corporate actions that are happening from the corporates. What has been the experience so far?
So COVID was devastating in many ways, but it changed the way that we do business, both from virtual meetings, which is much more efficient than going through traffic, and even for clients, corporate companies, in terms of how they interact. So virtual AGMs was one. If we look at virtual AGMs before, if we look at AGMs before virtual AGMs, you would have good representation. But we had done a research, and there was what we call the missing shareholder. That group of shareholders that holds between like 10,000 and 100,000 shares. They tend not to have the time to go to a physical AGM.
You're right.
So what would happen is that they wouldn't be represented. And if you look at it, an AGM is critical. That's where shareholders vote. That's where shareholders get information directly from the company. That's where shareholders can ask their questions. So we had what we call this missing shareholder, this missing representation that was there for physical AGMs. With virtual AGMs, that has changed, because it is now convenient. You can actually just log in. In fact, sometimes I'm actually working and I have my AGM on a camera, just listening, but I'm still working on a document. If there's something interesting, I stop, I pay attention. But you have that flexibility. So now what we're finding is that whereas for that 5,000 to 100, in terms of the participation in AGMs, the graph used to be a dip. It is now curving out. They're coming in. And if you look at that, it has so many benefits. One, in terms of the questions that are asked. So AGMs are a way not just for companies to give information, but also for shareholders to ask their questions, for the company to answer. So when you look at the quality of the questions that are coming in, now they're more talking to strategy. They're from a wider perspective. You look at the shareholders that are not within Nairobi, outside of the country. It would have been impossible for them to attend. Now they're attending. Now they're participating. Now they're asking their questions. With virtual AGMs, you can now even come in online and ask your question just as we're speaking here. So it's through a camera, but you're seeing the face of the shareholder. They're asking their question live. So there's so much flexibility and efficiency in terms of participation, and we're really seeing the benefits. As I said, that dip has gone from this to this. Because if you look at it, the top shareholders tend to be always represented through either nominee account or their proxy. Their vote is going to be in. It's that 5 to 100,000 that couldn't attend, and now we're seeing their votes. Now we're seeing their question. Now they're participating. Now they're being represented. And that's a big benefit.
Absolutely. As we come to a close, I'm thinking about efficiency and looking at the issuers and even the shareholders, and how first in this era, everybody wants their communication moving super fast. In fact, I think if there was a possibility, shareholders would want to just at a click of a button, just get information on the go. So that means constantly, I know you're thinking of how can we efficiently keep communicating even in the shortest time possible to the shareholders. How is that going, and any initiatives that are coming up?
Yes, there are a lot. So, and as you said, shareholders want information like this. So let's start off, stay on virtual AGMs, and I'm going to go from virtual AGMs. One of the things with virtual AGMs is that you have a support center, because when it first started, shareholders needed a lot of support. They needed to understand, how do we call this USSD? How do we access? How do we vote? So we said, well, if we're doing a support center for shareholders to ask questions, let's also do a support center to try and move some things. So for example, getting shareholders to move to electronic or mobile money payment rather than checks, which is very efficient. So when they're calling in for questions, then we will say, can you consider moving to electronic or mobile money for your dividend payment? And if they accept, that recording actually serves as a shareholder opt-in. So that goes into the CRM under the shareholder profile that says, yes, the shareholders agree to do mobile money for dividend payments, for replacements. So in addition to serving the purpose of assisting the shareholder, we're also using that to update records for the shareholder to make interactions with them more efficient. Then if we go to just notices, for example, UFAA, when they came in with the act, it said shareholders had to be notified of the possibility of their dividends going to dormancy or their shares going to dormancy. And tradition, that would be through the post. Then you look at this and you say, this is a notification. As long as we can confirm that this notification has been sent, then we should be able to use electronic means. We confirmed it with UFAA. And that's what we do now. We send notifications through emails, through text, because we can confirm that there's an electronic digital record. So this serves as the same as a physical dispatch that has been sent, where we have a stamp from GPO. We have a electronic stamp, that digital notice has been sent.
Yeah.
So there are now so many more efficient ways of communicating with shareholders. But the one thing that we do need is updated records. Updated records.
Yeah.
Yes, we do need updated records. We need shareholders to be giving us those records and data, so we can now use technology and digital means in a more efficient way. Okay,
thank you for that. So finally, I want to combine this question into two.
Okay.
You sit in a place where you hear a lot from the issuers and from the shareholders as well. And I wanted to ask you, on the side of the shareholders, because at the bottom line is to have the most efficient market, so that, you know, shareholders can take home, you know, something nice for themselves because they invested in this. What do you feel? What are the sentiments? Are they getting satisfied, or are they still feeling like they're concerned? You know, of course, as I say, nobody will ever get satisfied and tell you we are super happy 100%. There will always be some things that they raise to you and that keep you still awake until you ensure that they're all satisfied, both sides of things. I would like you to just tell me what they are saying from your end. And of course, tell me any key challenges that you're facing right now and any plans to address them.
Yes, so shareholders do communicate with us, you know, as they're moving to technology and digital means, their concerns they have around how they interact. They don't want to just be writing a question online, which is why you bring in the aspect that they can come in camera in camera. But more so from that, it's about provision of information and just reaching out to them, targeted, you know, messaging to them. I think in terms of some of the things that are coming up and it's been discussed in the market, it's about investor education. So if you look, you want to get a younger target market, you want a vibrant market. I mean, shareholders want higher dividends. You always talk about higher dividends, bonus issues. If you go to any AGM, that's what they talk about. So to do those things where companies come into the equity market, you want to have a vibrant market. To have a vibrant market, we need to bring in a group of people that don't normally participate. Again, that age of like 40, 18 to 40-year-olds who don't participate. We do a lot of research online, and they don't participate. So how do you get them invested in the capital market so we can have a vibrant market, so we can have better dividends, more bonuses, all of that shareholders ask for? So that's one aspect of it too. As a company, sometimes we look at ourselves we're not just a share registrar. We look at how we interact and participate in the market ourselves, because we also benefit from a vibrant capital markets. So coming in early 2021, we introduced ShareHub. And ShareHub was about this concept of how can we get this group of potential investors who are not participating. Like, I participate in talks with universities. People know about land, the students know about land, but they don't know about the capital market. They don't understand the terminology. You just asked me about corporate actions. So when we talk about a split, a bonus, when we talk about a scrip dividend, when we talk about dividend reinvestment, they don't know what that is.
That's true.
So they don't understand how their money can work for them in a capital market. So that was part of the reason, you know, why we introduced ShareHub. It's about edugaming. It's like, how can we best interact or best reach knowledge to this group of participants who are very digital. So do some quizzes on the terminology. If I say something is an entitlement file, what does that mean? Are you ex-dividend? What does that mean? So they understand the terminology. Then when they understand the terminology, then look at trying to play in the market, maybe using some virtual markets, which is what we introduced in the ShareHub game. So you're introducing things, but in a virtual market using virtual money. Then we also did webinars out of that. So we had chat groups, we had webinars where we will bring in market players to talk about dividend reinvestment. How do you invest in a bull market? How do you invest in a bear market? What does that mean? Are you a conservative investor? Are you going to take risks? If you're going to take risks, how do you read the data so that you know what you're investing in? So we did webinars with market players across the industry. We went to universities, participated in forums. So it's all about investor education as well, because to have that market that investors want, that are going to bring the returns that they want, we need to ensure that everybody from the local perspective is participating. We don't want to be reliant on just foreigners or internationals. They're very good to have, but when something happens during COVID, they'll move their money out. We want a vibrant local market that are educated and understand how they can play in the capital markets.
All right. Kerry-Ann, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
There you have it. That's Kerry-Ann Makatiani, CEO, Custody and Registry Services Limited. That's C&R Group. Just explaining to us what their role really is, some of the innovations that they're putting in place, and really what should be the future of, making the market more efficient. Thank you so much for your time. I leave you now with the markets.